Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hood Table, and welcome my Tanya's Primetime TV squad as well. So come on in, Hood Table Squad. Come on in, Tanya's Primetime TV squad. Um, I will be recording this live on the Hood Table channel, and then re-uploading it tomorrow sometimes on my Tanya's Primetime TV Media Reviews YouTube channel. So, as I normally tell you guys, please make sure you subscribe to all of my platforms. I have 3 platforms: The Hood Table, DAHOOD Table, The Hood Table, and also Tanya's Primetime TV Media Reviews, and also my live cake decorating channel, which is Tanya's Delights Slice by Slice. So, again, come on in. We're going to go ahead and review everything I've learned thus far in the state versus Joshua Keadle trial, which just recently started this past Monday. And it's regarding the murder and disappearance and murder of Tyler Ty Thomas, a Peru State College student who went missing like 10 years ago. And the last person who was, known to see her alive was Joshua Keadle. And if some of you been keeping up with me or keeping up with the story, you know that he had first told police a long time ago that he was not with her the night of her disappearance. Then he later, after 4 days later, he recanted his story and told them that he was with her, that she did want to go to Omaha, to come back home to Omaha, Nebraska, where we live here in Omaha, Nebraska, and he was going to give her a ride in exchange for sex. But after they had sex, she got upset, they argued or whatnot, and he ended up leaving her at the Missouri River by the boat dock in the middle of the night, and he went back to his college dorm because they both were Peru State, Missouri. I'm thinking of Missouri River, Peru College. They both went to Peru State. So I was in court today, and there was 7 witnesses altogether that they put on a stand, and that 7 witnesses testified. And basically, I'm just going to give you a rundown of everything that was said and happened as closely as possible as what was said and what happened. Now, there were no cameras allowed. There was no recording devices allowed. There was one person, I believe, from news media, and that was Channel 3 News, and they were able to record and they were able to bring their camera in. But other than that, if you weren't with the news crew, you couldn't record. So basically, your girl had to go old school, and when I say old school, I mean notebook. Let me pull my little notebook. My notebook, I had to pull out the notebook, and I had pages and pages and pages of notes. I couldn't believe I wrote so much today. I ain't wrote that so much by hand, and I don't know how long, but I had to do it so that I can give you guys everything that's been going on with the trial. Hey, Real Mamas, Real Problems, how you doing, hon? Thanks for tuning in. I don't know if you know about this case or not, against Joshua Keadle. It's a murder case that just went to trial. And I've been following this for some time now, for a couple of years, and the trial just started. So again, with no further delay, I'm going to jump right in and start from the beginning of when I got to court to the end when the judge said, let's go home. It's a lot. It's a lot. I'm just giving you a warning right now. It's a lot. I wrote a lot down, and I tried to write down every single thing that I heard. Now, if anybody's listening or watching, if I say the wrong name at a particular time or mention the wrong, any kind of information that you think is wrong, please let me know. Please feel free to correct me, because I was writing, okay? I was writing. I couldn't bring in a computer. I couldn't bring in a laptop. I couldn't bring in my cell phone. I couldn't record or nothing. So I was writing, and I was writing as fast as I could possibly write. why they were interviewing all these 7 witnesses today. So again, I'm gonna start from the top. Excuse me. And also, this is the first murder trial I have ever been a witness to. So it was a lot. It was a long day, a very long day. And then it's out of town. It's hours away. So we had to drive. We had to get up at the crack of dawn, drive down out of town to the courthouse in this small little, town, and then sit for hours, like 9 hours of trial, and then turn around and drive back home. So it's been a long day. So bear with me. I'm going to, again, start from the beginning. It's a lot of notes, a lot of witnesses that they had on the stand today. So this is the Keadle trial, State versus Joshua Keadle trial, day 5. And again, it was 7 witnesses, and I'm going to start from the top. The first witness that they called was Deputy Blouser. The prosecutors, now when they talked to Deputy Blouser, they didn't really go too far in depth with him. But Deputy Blouser, he had mentioned that it was 4 people that he had talked to the night of Ty's disappearance. One of them was Dana Dormer, the other one was Chloe, the other one was Jenna Hughes, the other one was Darrell Richardson. Dana Dormer was a friend of Ty, who was excuse me, with Ty at the apartment at the beginning of the evening. Then Ty left, and Dana couldn't keep up with her, and we're going to get into why Ty left a little later. But basically, Ty left because she was upset. She had got in an argument with her friends, and she stormed out of the house. Dana said she tried to keep up with her, but she couldn't because of a brace that she had on her leg or her knee or something like that. Chloe said Ty sent her a text message later in the night and said she couldn't find herself. Her emotions was running deep. Now, all these few little text messages, they're going to mean something in the middle of this story, or the middle of this case, or this trial date. Let me just put it that way. Jenna Hughes said that she last saw Ty at a party at a baseball house. So there was a baseball house party that was that night, and Jenna said she last saw Ty at that party. Everybody who's coming in, please feel free to like the video. Please not feel free to like the video. Please like the video. Please feel free to share the video, and make sure you subscribe to the Hood Table. Hit the subscribe button and then hit the notification bell so you can receive all notifications. So Jenna Hughes says she last saw Ty at a party at a baseball house, so a baseball house party. Darrell Richardson, which is a friend of Ty, said Ty had texted him and said she was lost, and he asked where she was at, but he never got any details from her. So basically, the first witness, that was about as much as he was really saying as far as those text messages right there. Then later on, Deputy Blouser, he did say once he found out that Ty was missing, that he went into Ty's room looking for clues or a note, some kind of note that she might have left, but found nothing. Then he called Atchison, Fremont County, which is across the river. It's like on the Kansas-Iowa border. But they said they haven't received any 911 calls, and they haven't heard anything from any hospitals, no visits from Ty, nobody coming in with an emergency by her name. Then the deputy said that Ryan McCarty has said to call Brian. Ryan had mentioned that one of their friends or fellow classmates, Brian, said he saw Josh's vehicle, Joshua Keadle. That's the guy that's on stand. That's the guy that's on trial for the murder of Ty. He said he saw Joshua Keadle's vehicle on December 3rd between midnight, but he didn't see Ty. So the deputy checked the boat dock. He said he checked there because he was thinking, Ty had texted a couple of people that night and said she was lost. And when they asked her like where she was, she didn't like respond or give them some kind of explanation to where she was. So he just was thinking, it's the middle of the night, somebody's lost. Maybe it's somewhere by the water or by the dock where it's dark at, and maybe she walked off because, you know, a lot of people said that Ty had walked off because she was upset and angry about an altercation. So he checked the boat dock, and, you know, there was no Ty there. He didn't see anybody there. And then actually after that, he figured, yeah, that's right. He figured he would go to the boat dock to where, you know, Ty might possibly be because it was dark and she might have got lost down there. But he didn't find anything. Now, when he was cross-examined by the defense, Deputy Blouser was asked if he thought Ty was suicidal, if that was a possibility at all, and he actually said yes because of the text messages to her friends throughout that night. Several of her friends, some in Omaha, some down in Peru, had mentioned that she had texted them, and each of them said the text messages was like, I'm lost, or, you know, I'm having a breakdown, or I'm having some emotional, you know, some deep emotional feelings, you know, right now. So they was like, well, Deputy, do you think there was a possibility that she could have been suicidal? And the deputy was just like, you know, from those text messages, you know, at that time, you know, it was a possibility. It was a possibility. And also, the deputy mentioned that he talked to Monica and Sharia, which was people that Ty hung around with at Peru College. And he asked them about their behavior, about Ty's behavior. And they said that that night, Ty had got into it with somebody. She was throwing things. She was hostile. She was really like, you know, dramatic and upset. And so, you know, they was like, she was upset basically. And so then he talked to somebody named Dwayne, and he said that Ryan said that Ty was seen by the river. But when Deputy Blouser asked Ryan, he said it was like a miscommunication between him and his girlfriend, and that they really didn't see Ty by the river. Now, it was a redirect by the prosecutor. They asked Deputy Blouser, why did he call Sprint? And he said, well, at that time, you know, he thought it might have been an emergency situation because nobody had saw Ty. He thought it was a possibility, maybe suicide, or she was dead, or maybe she was really lost. So they wanted to check her phone records as soon as possible and basically, you know, cover all options as soon as possible. Now, that was a very short time that they spent with that deputy. The second witness was Jason Jones, Nebraska State Patrol in Criminal Division. He's assigned to Southeast Auburn, Nemaha County, and he worked the 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift around the time that Ty went missing. So first off, the prosecutors, they had talked to State Patrol Jason Jones, and he had told them when he got off of work that night around 3 a.m., he heard what sounded like people arguing or fighting nearby his home. So he was actually off of work, had got all the way home, had got out of his car, and then he heard all this commotion, all this noise, you know, yelling, screaming, sound like people were fighting. And so then he jumped back in his car and he drove to the scene where he saw a large crowd of kids. And he said one girl had asked him, a black girl, African-American girl, had asked him to help them find Ty. He drove all around the area and even checked the dock. So somebody else checked the dock by the river, but they found nothing. When he was cross-examined by the defense, they asked State Patrol Jason Jones about what time did he go to the dock, and he said around 3 a.m. And that was basically all they asked him. The third witness, Jarrell Richardson. Prosecutors asked Jarrell, you know, where does he live? Where does he work? He said he lives in Omaha, Nebraska. He works for FedEx at airport, and he does not attend Peru. When asked how he met Ty or where he met Ty, he claimed he met her at a poetry night at Keno King. A lot of y'all in Omaha, Nebraska knows where Keno King is, and they used to have poetry night all the time there, like every week. He then said that they kind of like started kind of like I want to call it like a situationship, where you kicking it, you having relations, but you're not in a relationship. It's not like moved up to that step yet. He claimed that Ty wanted a relationship with him, but then he told her he wasn't ready for a relationship. So they kind of kept it on that friendship level. And basically they were still kind of having like romantic situations, a situationship, but they weren't like actually girlfriend and boyfriend. So anyway, Ty wanted a relationship. He didn't want a relationship, but they remained in touch. They stayed friends, and every now and then they hooked up with each other and met up with each other. And he also mentioned that he visited Peru once to see Ty at college. But usually they always hooked up when Ty came back to Omaha. Now, Jarrell had claimed on the morning of December 3rd, he had received a call from Jade, which is Ty's cousin, who also goes to Peru College. And Jade had told him that Ty was missing. Jarrell then told her that Ty had called him earlier the evening before and into the overnight. Jarrell and a friend was at the Barfly, and they were there till 2 a.m. when it closed. And then after that, he had to be at work at FedEx at the airport at 4 a.m. So basically after the club, he went to work and he got there by 4 a.m. And he did, make sure they had proof of that, because they definitely were checking. You know how it is when somebody is missing and they in a relationship with somebody, they want to make sure they cross all the T's, dot all the I's. So they made sure that he was at work. But also he had another alibi, because when he left the Barfly bar at 2 a.m., he had actually got pulled over and had actually got a ticket. Now, what that ticket was for, I don't know, because they didn't say. It was really weird during this trial, because some things that I thought they should have mentioned, they didn't really mention. So, like the ticket, they said they verified several times you got a ticket, you got pulled over, but they didn't really say what the ticket for. So, I don't know if it was for speeding, running a red light. I don't know. So, anyway, he had told Jade that around like 1 a.m., excuse me, Ty had texted him and said that she was lost. He also said that Ty said her phone was about to go dead. And then Jade had called him later that morning, well, into the next day, later in the morning, and said that the state troopers wanted to talk to Jarrell. So the state troopers, they met him after he got off of work, and Jarrell told them that he really felt like something wasn't right. They asked him, has he ever witnessed Ty drinking, or witnessed her ever being drunk? And he said no. Again, as far as the alibi, he did have an alibi because he was pulled over. He was issued a ticket, but again, they never said what the ticket was for. And I think they also kind of used that and threw that in there to prove that he was in fact in Omaha and not in Peru, where Ty went missing. And after he received a text message from her, she didn't respond to him when he tried to find out where she was going. They were text messaging back and forth, for a little while, kind of like playing text tag. I would say phone tag, but kind of like text tag. But he never really got a response from her about where she was. And then after that, he actually never heard from her again after that day. Now, he was then cross-examined by defense. Again, we're talking about the third witness, Jarrell Richardson. They had asked, this is what I found really weird, and the people I was sitting with was like, what the heck? Like, where did this come from? But when he was cross-examined by the defense, they had asked him, have you ever heard of slam poetry? And he was like, no, he hasn't. Now, I've heard of slam poetry, but I wasn't on the stand. But he was like, no, I've never heard of slam poetry. And then the defense was like, well, I don't mean to be offensive or whatnot, but And still, I was wondering, what does that got to do with anything? But the defense said they're not trying to be offensive, but then went on to ask him if there was a certain kind of poetry that Black people liked. Now, keep in mind, the defense is white, but so is the prosecutors. But yeah, they did ask him, was there a certain kind of poetry that Black people like? And he was like, no, not really. Not really. But then they asked Jarrell if he and Ty ever had a sexual relationship, and Jarrell admitted that they had started off having a sexual relationship, or situationship as I call it. But then Ty wanted more, and since he wasn't ready for a relationship, then they decided to just remain friends. But as far as the text messages Ty sent to Jarrell, she sent him one around midnight on the 2nd, or going into the 2nd, and then on the 3rd, once it went after midnight on the 3rd, he had texted her again. And then she had texted him back, and then he had texted her again, and then there was like no response for her. And he tried to call her, he tried to text her to try to find out where she was, because she said she was lost. Then after that, he couldn't reach her anymore, and that was the last time he ever heard from Ty. But again, there was some things I didn't quite understand, and I did happen to talk to Jarrell after court, but the crazy part of that was the defense had handed him, when he was still on the stand, they had handed Jarrell some screenshots of his text messages. The screenshots was brought into play because Jarrell claimed that him and Ty text each other all the time, if not daily. But the screenshots that they showed him, it was just like a few pages of screenshots of text messages around the time that Ty was missing. And then there was like text messages to a couple of his friends, but Jarrell was looking at the text messages screenshots, like thinking where the rest of them at, or he was like, that's it, that's all you got. There was a lot of text message screenshots that were missing from his phone, because they had took his phone when he had when the troopers had came up and they had interviewed him and everything. They had took his phone and they went through his phone and they screenshotted his text messages. And he said the text messages from me and my mom, the text messages between me and my child's mother, the text message from earlier that night when I text my homeboy and said, we going out, what time we going out, none of those was in there, which I thought was really weird. So I don't know if they were trying to say that you really didn't text Ty as much as you trying to say you text Ty. So it was really weird. He didn't understand it. A lot of us sitting in the courtroom didn't understand where that was going. But anyway, excuse me, after that, they were done with him. Now, the fourth witness, Seth Bingham, he's campus security. Prosecutors had asked Seth when was he first aware of Ty's missing, and he said he had arrived at work that morning at the campus at 8:30 a.m. on December 3rd. And he said that's when he realized, somebody had told him that Ty was missing. He said he then started calling Ty's phone and it kept going to voicemail. And around 10 a.m., he went to Davidson Hall with a master key to room 35, or they call them suites. Their dorms are like suites, and inside the suite is bedrooms. So he used the master key to get into the suite, room 35, which is Ty's suite and her roommate. And he said he searched the suite, searched Ty's room, but didn't find Ty. Excuse me. Then he said he locked the room back up, and then he checked the room across the hall because he heard that Ty was over there as well earlier that night. And Jade, the people who in the room across the way was Jade, which is Ty's cousin. Chloe and Monica, they were asleep, but they had got up, when Seth went over there. And he had asked, what happened. They told him about the fight that night between Ty and some of her friends. So Seth Binghamton, the campus security, he then went to his office and he made a report to his VP, and they decided to call emergency phone numbers that was provided by Ty. Every student has an emergency contact list. They ended up calling Ty's grandma, Eva, and asked her, did Ty make it to Omaha? And Ty was not in Omaha. So then Eva was like, what's going on? Is something wrong? But Seth had mentioned that he didn't know how to respond to her because he didn't actually know for sure if Ty was in any danger. So he just told her that, they're looking for her. And if they hear from her, if the grandma or her family hear from her, to let them know, and that they would get back with her. So he really didn't, at that time, he really didn't have no idea if she was more than missing, like dead or anything like that. So Seth, again, he went and talked to some more students, and then he spoke to the sheriff's office and determined that they needed to look even further for Ty. So what they did was they got clearance to do a campus-wide search with them and using a master key. There were 16 students that worked with Seth or worked under Seth. He had all of them break up into teams, and they did a campus-wide search. They checked all the resident halls, the janitor rooms, restrooms, storage rooms, stairwells, etc., etc. And after the search, when they found no evidence of Ty anywhere, they then sent out emails to alert campus of a missing student. He was then asked by prosecutors, could any of these suites to the students be forcefully opened? And he said yes. And Seth Binghamton, the security guard, also stated that he had made a list of students they wanted to question, including Joshua Keadle, who is the guy that's on trial for the murder of Ty. Now, he was cross-examined. Seth, the security guard, he was cross-examined by defense. Defense only asked him one thing, basically, and that was about the suites, people being able to open them by force. And Seth said, yes, those doors, if you use a whole bunch of force, he was like, I can't open them. He said, but I've seen people use a lot of force and get those dorm rooms open. And then that was that. Fifth witness, Ryan McClarty. Now, Ryan McClarty, let me just pull something up real quick. A lot of y'all, that name, if you are especially from Omaha, Nebraska, that name might ring a bell. So I'm going to let you know first who he is or who he recently was. Ryan McClarty, he actually worked for the Omaha police. And what had happened was a Native American was actually killed by or died in the hands of Officer Ryan McClarty. And Ryan McClarty did end up getting off, or, the charges were dropped. But then, and also he was, he basically, the Native American who died, his name, he was actually, it was a taser that they used. And let me just read it right here. Okay. McClarty, he was accused of punching Zachary Beerhills, a 29-year-old Rosebud Sioux man, 13 times after he and fellow officer Scotty Payne had arrested Beerhills. And this was like a year or so ago. Payne is accused of shocking Beerhills 12 times with a taser. Beerhills died about an hour after being shocked and punched by the two officers on June 5th of 2017. He was traveling to Oklahoma City when he was kicked off the bus for erratic behavior. His relatives have said he had schizophrenia, was bipolar, and was not taking his medications. After the two officers found him, they attempted to put him in a police cruiser. Payne began shocking him after he refused to get into the cruiser, and even after he was sitting up on the ground, handcuffs near the back passenger tire of a police cruiser. McClarty began punching Beerhills after he got a hand free from his cuffs. A coroner's physician who conducted an autopsy on Beerhills later concluded his death was attributed to excited delirium and not necessarily related to his injuries or shocks. Payne was fired in July and then charged with felony second-degree assault, while McClarty was also fired and charged with third-degree assault, a misdemeanor. But again, McClarty had actually charges got dismissed. He got off of that case, but he ended up resigning from the police force. So I just have to give you that little tidbit of information because I know probably when I mention that name, some of y'all gonna be like, "Oh, hold up, is that the cop that was?" Yeah, that's him. So anyway, now going back to the trial at hand, the fifth witness is Ryan McClarty. Now, Ryan McClarty, the prosecutors had asked him, about his time at Peru College and how he met, Ty. And Ryan said he started Peru in 2008 and he graduated from Peru as well. He met Ty through Jade, his girlfriend, which is also Ty's cousin. He also said he had played football, but not in 2010 when Ty went missing. He claimed he met Joshua Keadle at Peru through his roommate Brendan, who used to room with Joshua Keadle. He also stated that some of his closest friends or who he hang with down there are Jade, Chloe, Shamira, Monica, and Tyler, among a few others. He said he saw Ty like every day and they all hung out together. And he oftentimes saw Ty at parties, which were usually the parties were like Thursday through Sunday every week. And he claims he went to Omaha on weekends, sometimes with family or his frat brothers. He also claimed that early on December 2nd, him and some of his frat brothers were in a dorm and some of them were drinking before a baseball party. Ty was there and Jade, Shariah, Monica, and Chloe. He said he was not old enough to buy liquor, but Jade and Devin was. Oh, yeah, Devin was there as well. And that he wasn't drinking. So Ryan claims he wasn't drinking. After they hung out for a while, they then went to Shariah's house because Shariah's birthday was coming up and they wanted to do something for her birthday, kick it with her for her birthday. So they went over there to her house. It really wasn't a birthday party per se, but they went over her house to hang out. Then after they hung out over there, they went to the baseball house for a baseball party with Shariah and Monica. Ryan then claimed he heard the police was going to do a bust on the party at the baseball house for the baseball party. And since he didn't want them to get an MIP, which is a minor in possession ticket, he convinced or told his friends, that they should leave and that they should, go back to Shariah house. So they went back to Shariah house and continued, kicking it over there. He then mentioned that Ty showed up and that she was pissed and she was calling them all fake and not true friends and told them they can be trusted. But it was mainly Monica and Ty who were arguing. Ryan then claimed that he had tried to calm Ty down because she was really becoming animated and angry. And he even said he had to pin her to the wall, try to restrain her, and told her he'll let her go once she calms down. But that only irritated Ty more, and then she threatened to call the cops on Ryan if he didn't release her. So he said he released her and he sat down on the couch. And by then, Shariah had, put Ty out after that, because when Ryan was restraining Ty was kicking the wall. They said she kicked the wall, she tore the wall up, she also tore a door up or something else. And then Ty, she stormed out the house, and everybody said the same thing as far as where they thought Ty had went. And they said back to Omaha. They said nobody followed her from Shariah's house, but Ty did say she was upset and she wanted to go back to Omaha. So they had all assumed that she was going to find a way to get back to Omaha. But after learning about her missing, Ryan and his friend Jeremy Crump drove around looking for her. He said he didn't recall calling Ty, but they did go around looking for her. And after they couldn't locate her, they went back to the dorm to see if Ty made it back. And at that time, they said Joshua Keadle came out of his suite and they asked him, has he seen Ty? And Keadle said he saw her out walking. Joshua Keadle, again, is the guy who's on trial for Ty's murder. Now, also, they said Ty's suite was open, but her bedroom door was unlocked. Again, with dorms, they have an entrance, and then it's like a little suite or a little house or whatever, apartment, and then their bedrooms, behind other doors. So the suite was open, but her bedroom door, her bedroom door was unlocked. Now, Ryan said also that Keadle never, keep this in mind, Ryan also said that Keadle never implied that he or Ty was at the river. Keep that in mind. Again, Ryan said that Keadle never implied, when they was asking him, have he seen Ty? Keadle never implied that he saw that he or Ty was at the river. And what Ryan also said about Keadle was that Ty and Keadle really didn't get along. They actually usually was in arguments most of the time. Nothing physical, but arguing, calling each other names. Ryan has said at one time, Keadle called her a bitch because he was upset with her. And Ryan at that time had, threatened to fight Keadle because he was upset because he called Ty a bitch. But, he also said that Ty, when she would argue with people or get upset with people, she never backed down. So regardless if it was a guy she was arguing with or whatnot, she stood her ground. And if she thought she was right or whatever, just argue. But again, there was never any physical, situations with them too. Now, when Ryan was cross-examined by the defense, Ryan McCarty was asked on December 2nd, before they left for Shariah's party and the baseball house party, who bought the liquor. Ryan said he didn't know. But what he did know was that Tyler showed up at his room intoxicated. Now, this was earlier before Ty went missing. And that Tyler had showed up at his room intoxicated, but he wasn't sure if she was drunk. But then the defense, they was like, well, hold up. When you were interviewed before and you signed your deposition years ago, you said that Ty was drunk. But Ryan was like, well, I was younger then, he said from that time when I was young to now at the age I'm in, from what I can determine regarding Ty was that I wouldn't consider what she was back then as drunk. So he said, he sees it a lot differently now that he's older. I guess, I don't know, maybe she was tipsy or something he's trying to say or something. But at that time, he thought that was drunk. But now that he's older and he knows what a drunk really is or what a drunk really looks to sound like, he's, he was saying that, he don't think Ty was drunk back then. And he also said that Devin Ray, Jeremy Crump, Dwayne, Jade, Chloe, Monica Childs, and Ty was all in the room. And there were people in there drinking except for him. Now, keep that in mind. So the defense then said, do you remember when you said in your deposition in 2019 that nobody was drinking? And Ryan said he can't say who was drinking for sure because he don't recall. He can't say exactly who was drinking that night in their dorm. But after that, they went to Shariah's house. But he doesn't recall if it was Shariah's birthday that day or not, or I think Shariah's birthday was coming up, but he couldn't remember if that day actually was Shariah's birthday. He also said he don't remember seeing Ty at Shariah's house. He remembered Shariah, Jay, and Chloe being there, and a drunk cheerleader and Dana. And again, he said he was not drinking. And also, when they left Shariah's to go to the baseball house for the party, he didn't see Ty there as well. And that was around the time he said he heard the cops are going to do a bust. So he told his friends that they should all leave so they don't get ticketed for MIP, which is a minor in possession. And that's when they went back to Shariah's house, and Ty then showed up. And as I said before, they said Ty had showed up. She was upset. She was irate, calling them fake, telling them they were not real friends, telling them that she could not, trust them and everything. And then I don't know where this really came from. This kind of really came, out of nowhere. But they asked him, do he remember what color Ty's phone was? And if he thought the color was pink, and he was like, I don't remember what color her phone was. But then he had told them again, he had restrained Ty because she was, all dramatic and just doing the most, and she was kicking holes in the walls and all that kind of stuff. And then Shariah had put her out. So the defense also asked him, does he remember Ty going into the bedroom after Monica? Because Monica, once Ty and Shariah was getting into it, I guess Monica started having panic attacks, and somebody took Monica into a bedroom. Ryan was like, he said he don't remember Ty, going into the bedroom after Monica, but he does remember her leaving, and she didn't have a coat on. So that's what he recalls. Now, he also said that Dana Dorner had tried to stop Ty at that moment. That Dana had tried to stop Ty, but then later Jade and Chloe pulled up and said Ty was missing. So that was when Jeremy and Devin Wright left to go search for her. And he said they drove all over looking for Ty, but they don't really remember how long they exactly looked for Ty. Then the defense asked if Ty had any issues with Ryan. And Ryan said that Ty got into it with a lot of people. She argued with a lot of people. And then they asked him upset with Ty because Ty had told his girlfriend Jade, which is Ty's cousin, that Ryan was cheating on Jade. And also because it was said that Ryan was telling people that Ty had slept with everyone on the boys' basketball team. But Ryan said he know about being mad at her for alleging that he was cheating, and he said he do not recall telling people that she slept with the entire basketball team. Ryan was then asked if Ty and Brendan liked each other, and Ryan said he also saw Ty argue with Brendan before, and he was asked when Joshua Keadle was playing video games earlier that evening with his roommate Brendan, did he call Ty a bitch? And Ryan said yes. Now, some of the stuff that I'm saying, it might sound repetitive because of the fact that some of the people who's been interviewed is telling the same stories. Some of the stories are the same. You know what I mean? Okay. So anyway, he was redirected. At that time, the prosecutors wanted to redirect and ask him some questions. So it was redirected from the prosecutors. They asked Ryan on September 3rd, 19, did you say Ty had a pink cell phone? He again said he doesn't remember because they were always asking him about a pink mirror in his room as well at that time. And then he was showed a deposition that didn't report any pink phone, but it did have a report of a pink mirror. So that kind of lost me there too. But then the defense approached the desk and they showed him an exhibit 296, which was a police report where he said in an interview that Ty had a pink phone with her. But again, he didn't remember or don't recall what color the phone was. Then the defense said they wanted to keep him under subpoena, and the prosecutor said they were actually done with him. So he's still under subpoena with the defense. Now, sixth witness. We got one more witness after this, and then we'll be done. Sixth witness was Whitney Matlock. Prosecutors have verified that Whitney was from Omaha and went to Peru from 2008 to 2013 and graduated. And that is also where she met Ty as a roommate. But Whitney couldn't remember the dorm or the room number that they stayed in because for the duration that Whitney went to school at Peru, each semester or each year, she had moved to a different dorm. So she couldn't remember the name of the dorm or the room number that they stayed in. And then on top of that, her and Ty only stayed together for one semester, along with another roommate by the name of Ashley. Now, Whitney stated she is a dancer, and she's on a dance team that Ty was approved by the school, by Peru State College, to put together. Ty was the president. Whitney was the vice president. They asked Whitney how many times did the team meet a week, and she said several times, and more often if it was a game that week. And again, everybody coming in, make sure you like the video, feel free to share the video, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, please, and thank you. So Ty was the president and Whitney was the vice president. They asked Whitney how many times did the team meet a week. She said several times, and more often if they had a game that week. Whitney said she didn't know Keadle, Joshua Keadle, the guy on the stand for the murder of Ty. And she said she never spoke to him or saw him in their suite or around Ty. On December 2nd, 2010, Whitney claimed she went to sleep. This was like the evening before Ty went missing. So on December 2nd of 2010, Whitney said she went to sleep around 9 or 10 p.m. and she didn't go to the party at Shariah's house for her birthday, and she didn't go to the party at the baseball house. She also claimed that Ty was not at the house that night. Then about an hour later, she said she was awakened by a loud knock on her bedroom door, and she was really shaken up, and she didn't respond because I guess these aren't her words, but I'm just thinking maybe she thought she had locked the main door to their dorm and Ty wasn't there and somebody was knocking really loud at her door. She said she was shaken up and didn't respond. But as soon as she thought they were gone, she got up, walked to the main front door of the dorm or their suite, and she locked the door, and then she went back to bed. Then she said later on, again, she heard loud knocking, and she heard Jade, which is Ty's cousin. She heard her screaming out, "Ty, are you in there? Ty, are you in there?" And Ty was not in there. So, by the way, Jade was also on the dance team too with Whitney and Ty. So Whitney came to the door, and by that time her boyfriend was also there with her because he had came over to be with her. I don't know if that was because she was shaken by the earlier incident or I don't know. But anyway, her boyfriend was there now, and he came to the door with her, and Jade and Monica told her that Ty was missing. And then again, we hear that Joshua Keadle, the guy on trial, poked his head out of the room and asked, was Ty in there? But Whitney said she hadn't seen Ty since Thursday night at a basketball game. They then asked Whitney, did she know of Ty to be a cutter? Like, you know what a cutter is? Somebody who cuts and slices their arms or their legs, make cuts on their body. Usually people who have mental issues or something like that. But Whitney said, no, I don't know of her to be no cutter. Then they asked Whitney, have you ever been concerned about Ty's mental state? And Whitney said no. She also said she didn't remember the color of Ty's phone because they asked her as well what color was Ty's phone. They also asked her how many times she went to Omaha, and Whitney said like twice a month. And also she mentioned that when Ty went missing, she decided to stay with a friend because she was scared because Ty was missing and nobody knew where she was. So she left her dorm at night and she stayed, with a friend. And lastly, they asked Whitney, did Ty have a laptop? And Whitney said yes. Then she was cross-examined by the defense, and this was really quick. They asked Whitney, after Jade knocked, did you stay in the room or avoid the room during the day? And Whitney said, no, not during the day. Again, she has said that at night she would stay with her friends because she was scared because Ty was missing. They also asked her, did Ty have a steady boyfriend? And Whitney said no. They also asked, was Ty engaged? And Whitney said no. They also asked her, was Ty pregnant? And Whitney said no. Then Whitney said that Ty did tell her after the semester was over, she was moving in with her friends Chloe and Monica. And after that, both sides was done with her and she was released from her subpoena. Now, they asked about those questions, about the pregnancy, about the engagement, about the steady boyfriend, because there was rumors that Ty was pregnant and Ty was engaged and that she was seeing several people. And one of them was an older gentleman. And so they asked her about it, which was Ty's roommate. And Whitney she was like, no. So she don't know about those rumors or whatnot. Now, the last witness that I'm gonna tell y'all about for today, because again it was 7 witnesses. The last witness on the stand today was Jade Gordon, which is actually Ty's cousin, the one we were just talking about, who was running around looking for Ty. Prosecutors asked Jade to state her relationship to Ty, and Jade said their grandmas are sisters, which makes them cousins. Jade attended Peru from '07 to 2012, and then she graduated. She also, like Whitney, mentioned that she couldn't remember the name of the dorm she stayed in 2010, and she mentioned that she was dating Ryan McCarty, the guy we just spoke about before, who was charged with murder as a cop. And then he got off, and then he resigned from a cop here in Omaha. This was just a couple of years ago. So Ryan McCarty was going to the school at that time, and he was dating Jade. He was dating Jade, which was Ty's cousin. And she said she dated him from '09 to 2012. And she said that her and Ty had daily contact with each other, and their closest friends, their circle. It was a few times when the prosecutors or the defense asked them like who they mainly hung around, and Jade was like Shariah, Monica, Ryan, Kendall, Devin, Brandon. Some of the names we already heard of. And they asked her on the weekends, do you usually stay at the dorm? Excuse me, drink. Okay. They said, do you usually stay at the dorms or do you go home on the weekends? And she said sometimes she does go home to Omaha, and sometimes she stay at the dorm. And sometimes she even take Ty with her to Omaha if Shariah and Chloe wasn't going, or if they couldn't take her. Jade also mentioned, because they had asked her, how often do your family, get together? You guys are cousins. Do you like be together at all the holidays? Things like that. And Jay said, well, the big holidays like July 4th and Christmas, that's usually when, like most families, there's certain holidays when like all the family generally meet at one spot. But like for the rest of the holidays, some might be at this house, some might be here or there, So she said July 4th and Christmas was like when most of the family would all get together. She also mentioned that she was part manager and coach for the girls b-ball team at Peru. And she said that she did not know Joshua Keadle, the guy on trial for Ty's murder, before she attended Peru College. She did say that Keto helped with like weight training though for the girls basketball team, but she did mention again that she didn't know him before then, and that even at the college, they didn't really hang around each other as friends. And she also mentioned, like some of the others had mentioned, that Keto and Ty really did not get along. They really never had any peaceful interactions, usually is arguing or calling each other names. On the night of December 2nd, Jay said that she recorded the girls' basketball game, and that afterwards she did post-game teardown, like putting away all the equipment, making sure all the uniforms was put up to be clean, etc., which usually takes about 20 to 45 minutes. And she had mentioned Ty was not involved in post-game stuff. Jade also said it was Shariah's birthday coming up, so they wanted to do something for her. And Jade went to Ryan and Dwayne's room, and Ty, Monica, Sharia was there as well. Jade didn't want to go out at first because she said, and she didn't really say why, but and that's another thing that happened today. It was like things were said, but there wasn't a reason behind certain things that I thought it should be an explanation for. Like in this case, where Jay said she didn't want to go out at first because she was irritated. But again, she didn't say why. But then Chloe and the rest of them, they left to go to Shariah's, but then they decided to come back and convince her to go with them. So they all went to Shariah's house, and Jay said she did not drink, but there was a cheerleader who there. We heard that story before. There was a cheerleader there who was drunk. So Jade and Chloe said, Jade said her and Chloe took her to her dorm room, helped her out of her clothes and into bed because she had vomited on herself, and they waited there until the cheerleader's roommate came home, which Jade said took quite some time. Said they waited there for a while waiting on her roommate, but they didn't want to leave her alone, so they waited for the roommate. Then Jay said they went to Chloe's room and just kind of like just sat around, just talking about random stuff. And then Ty called Chloe, but they ignored her because they didn't want to go back to the party. Then they said Ty text right after that. Then that's when they decided to call her back. But after Ty had, text and said she was lost, she didn't respond back to them. They left like 10 minutes later to go find her. Jay said they had heard a knock on the door from Joshua Keadle, the guy on trial for Ty's murder. And they had heard a knock on the door from Joshua, who asked them what were they up to. And they said to go look for Ty. Jay then mentioned that was not normal for Joshua to inquire what they were up to because they really didn't hang, out like that or talk to each other like that. But and when Josh came to the door, she said he was in a towel, like fresh out the shower and still kind of like drying himself off. And he told them he had just came back from seeing a movie. Then Jade and Monica went back to Shariah's house to look for Ty. And they said Ty went to the baseball party house, or the baseball house party. So they went there. And they said Ty left to go back to Shariah's. So they went back to Shariah's house. And they said Ty left again. So Jade and Monica drove around, and she said they went to a blue house where like kids hung around and asked them how they seen Ty, and they said they saw Ty walking back to the complex houses, so back to like the dorms, and they went back to check, and there was no Ty. So then they drove down by the softball and the baseball field where there were no lights on when they thought she might. Excuse me. So they then drove down by the softball and baseball field. Her reason for that was because just like that security guard and the deputy said at the beginning, most of the people in Shariah and Jay's and they circle was kind of familiar with the campus, but there were certain areas where it was like dark, like by the river, by the softball field, by the baseball field. So they went, looking over there thinking, Ty says she's lost. Maybe she might be in the dark somewhere and can't find her way. So they went to the baseball field looking for her. They said they didn't see her. Then they went back to the dorm where Chloe, Monica, Tyler, and Joshua, Keadle lives. And they knocked on the door, no answer. Then they said they checked the stairwells, and then they went back again to the baseball and softball fields again. And then she claimed they drove a 7-mile stretch to Brownville and a 7-mile stretch to Auburn, and again, no Ty. Then she said they went to the campus, back to the campus, and drove as far as Mulberry Street outside of downtown Peru, and no Tyler. Then they drove to non-traditional student housing and to some student apartments, and no Ty. Jay said she couldn't remember if her or Chloe actually called 911 or called the sheriff, but they did pull over a sheriff by Shariah's house. And remember, we mentioned that before. The sheriff who actually had got off of work at 3 a.m. said he overheard some noises, sounded like people were arguing. He jumped back in his car, drove to the scene, and he said when he got there, some lady, an African-American girl, asked him, to help them find Ty. By that time, Jay said she was worried because Ty's phone was not dead. It was still ringing, and Ty was not answering. I see some new subscribers coming in. Hey, Robert Wagner. I'm almost done with this video, but of course, you guys can always rewind it and watch the replay when I'm done. Let's see, where was I? Okay. Ty's phone was not dead. It was still ringing and Ty wasn't answering. Okay. So then Jay went back to Ty's dorm because Joshua Keadle, the guy on trial for Ty's murder, he texted them and told them that he heard voices from Ty's suite. So Jade told him, do not go in there. Wait till we get there. So Jade went back. They were knocking and screaming, and that's when, like the story before, when she said we was knocking, screaming, asking Ty, are you in there? Ty, are you in there? Whitney comes out with her boyfriend, and she's like, Ty ain't here. We ain't seen Ty since Thursday at a basketball game. So then Jade decided to check all over again. Now, they didn't find Ty. The next morning, because it was in the middle of the night, so basically later on into the morning when the sun came up, Jade and Chloe drove up Main Street and then to the river dock, and they saw Joshua Keadle. And they said they thought it was strange because, for him to be there, because nobody really hangs out at the docks. But he claimed that he wasn't really doing anything there. He was just smoking some Mary J. Wanna. And that's it. Then Jade asked him again. Then they asked Jade again, was Ty and Joshua cordial? And she said they always argued. And then she gave an example. She was like a few nights before, they had got into an argument, and it was actually much worse than normal. And Joshua called Ty a bitch. And then Ryan wanted to fight Joshua over that. But at the end of the night, everybody had cooled down. Everybody calmed down, and they ended the night, a little bit more peacefully. Now, Jay was then cross-examined by defense. They asked Jay, did she remember a conversation that her and Ty had months before her disappearance regarding Ty saying she was breaking down? And Jay said no. And then they show her copies of a Facebook post from November 2010 where Ty has said, she was thinking that she was starting to slowly break down and she didn't want nobody to text or call her. And then Jade and others, have made comments on the post, kind of like inspirational comments or, trying to cheer her up or, just be there for her or whatnot, give her some encouraging words. And Ty, they said she had also mentioned that she was too busy, being needed by other people, helping out other people. And she basically wanted the same thing in return to be loved back. Now, I don't know if that Facebook post is still up there because I didn't really go look into it. But they also then asked Jade, did she know if Ty was pregnant? And she said she heard it before, but she didn't really believe it. Then they also asked Jade, when Chloe and her got back to Monica and Chloe's room and got the call from Ty and they didn't answer Ty, when Ty said she was lost, they was like, Joshua knocked on the door to say what? And they was like, he asked, what was they doing? And he had just got out the shower and he was drying off. And they told Josh that Ty was missing. Then Josh said he saw Ty by the water tower. Now, keep in mind, earlier that night, somebody mentioned that he never said he or Ty was down by the water. So then they told Joshua to come with them to look for Ty. They went back to the place where, the girl said they saw Ty walking by. They didn't find no Ty. They still didn't find no Ty. So actually, they then asked, what time Joshua came knocking at the door. She couldn't remember. So they gave her an exhibit 297. And it said that she had previously stated that Josh texted or called around 4 a.m. Jay said when she got back, or Jay said, hold on 1 second. Okay. That's right. Jay said it was around 4 a.m. and that was when basically they told him, don't go in the room, wait till we get there, because he said he had heard voices coming from inside of Ty's suite. And so they said, stay right there, don't go in. But when they got there again, Whitney answered the door and her boyfriend was with her. And they said they haven't seen Ty since Thursday at a basketball game. So the voices I think they were kind of insinuating that the voices that he heard could have been Whitney and her boyfriend. Then they asked Jade, does she recall Ty and Ty's mom in a car with her when she was going back to Peru to take Ty back to Peru? And do they remember Jade telling Ty that, I'm sorry, remember Ty telling Jade that she didn't want to ride back if she was bringing Ryan, because Jade was telling her that she's going to bring Ryan back, which was her boyfriend. And Ty said she didn't want to ride if Ryan was going. And the reason why was because, again, Ty had told Jade that Ryan was cheating on her. And then on top of that, it was said that Ryan was spreading rumors and telling everybody that Ty was sleeping with everybody on the basketball team. So they was like, well, you don't quite remember this, because Jade was like, well, I remember about her telling me he was cheating, but I really don't remember about him saying she was sleeping with everybody on the basketball team. And they was like, well, isn't that kind of like a big thing? Her not wanting to go, getting out the car and woo. She was like, no. Ty gets into it with people all the time. She's always arguing with people. She always getting into it with people and having disagreements. And then, 1 week it might be this week, she ain't talking to them. Next week it might be this person, she ain't talking to them. So she's like, it wasn't like no big deal that, she wasn't talking to Ryan, or she didn't want to ride in the same car with Ryan. So then Jade was asked if Joshua was playing video games with Brendan earlier that evening, and she said yes. And Ty and Josh did start arguing, and Josh was the one who started it, and Ty finished it. And Josh always also called Ty a bitch at that time. So that was like the second or third person who heard them argue that night, and him call her out of her name. And lastly, Jay was asked, did she call 911 and tell them about Ty missing? And did she give them information on Ty? Like, for example, like what she was wearing that night. Jay said she couldn't remember. She couldn't recall what Ty was wearing that night. And after that, both of the defense and the prosecutors, for some reason, they want to keep Jade on subpoena so that they can call her back and re-question her, all over again in the future. So that's basically a rundown of everything that happened in court today with all 7 witnesses. We did get there a little late, so it was a little bit that we missed before we got there, but that was mainly the gist of everything that happened today. And court will resume on Monday of next week. And I heard they had like 120 witnesses to get through. So this first week is done. I don't know how many witnesses they got left, but I heard it was 120 that they had all together. And I heard that it was going to be a 2-week trial. Then I heard it was going to be a 3-week trial. So we don't know right now, how long the trial is going to go. But I do know that they got a bunch of witnesses that they said they had, lined up. So we shall see. The next time I go to court, I will again take notes, and I will come back to give you guys a rundown. I know, I think they said Keadle is supposed to testify next week. So I'm hoping to attend that day to listen to his testimony. So, and then bring you guys back my notes from that day. But again, we shall see. Everybody who tuned in tonight, make sure again you like the video, you share the video. If you are not already subscribed to the Hood Table, hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit the notification bell. That notification bell, basically, every time we go live, or when we about to go live, or when we schedule a live, or even if I just upload something, it'll give you a notification, about what we're doing. So make sure after you hit the subscribe button, you also hit the notification bell. And thank you for tuning in tonight. I know it is late. I've been up since 5:30 this morning. We've been in court all day, drove out of town, sat in court all day, drove back out of town. I came right home. to get ready for this review. So trust and believe, I am tired. So you guys, make sure you like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And as usual, stay safe, be blessed, and I'm out. Deuces.